So, let's begin with a little meditation. Relax your body, relax your mind. I think the ability to relax your mind comes about over time. The more you understand impermanence and emptiness, right from the start, you can remind yourself there's no need to follow these other thoughts that come to my mind, the inner distractions. And for the welfare of others, I'm going to concentrate my mind and watch the breathing, first of all, as my object of focus. Concentrate and try to overcome the outer and inner distractions. Then withdraw your attention even further within, if you can, as though to your heart chakra, and take as your object of observation the clarity of your mind, your mental consciousness. Let go again and again of the thoughts, of the sense of your body, the seeming irrefutable presence of your body. Try to see them all as arising within the clarity of your mind. This inner resource is always with us. It's the nature, conventional nature of our mind. Our blissful place of retreat. I think within this mind, I can and will develop all the good qualities. Good heart, patience, love, compassion, wisdom especially. I'll eliminate all of my faults, my self-serving, egotistic attitude, my anger, attachment, and so forth. Especially my ignorance. And recall that since beginning this time, since while circling in cyclic existence, we have yet to properly, continuously devote ourselves to a spiritual guide that could guide us, lead us out of cyclic existence. Now that we have the opportunity, this incredible juxtaposition of leisure and endowment that's come about from our past karma through the efforts of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas providing the outer conditions. I'm going to use this opportunity while it lasts, while I'm still alive, to work for total enlightenment, for the welfare of others who themselves are without a guide, oblivious of how to relate with spiritual teachers. So for their benefit, for my own benefit, I'm going to participate tonight in the class reviewing the section of the stages of the path on relying on the spiritual guide, and the subsequent sections that follow that. Then bring your attention back to the present. So, does any one or two have a question? No questions? Not a good sign. I'm hoping sooner or later people will have questions. It'll be kind of an indication that they've studied, prepared. What do you think, Frank? You have some questions? I can see your, or you're just recognizing. Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It would make me so happy.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
What did I miss?
What did you miss? You missed a lot, baby. I'm not sure how much you missed. We've been talking about the sections on, the main outline of the text is the how to lead the disciples on the path, right? How to lead the students or the disciples in the actual instructions. That's the fourth main outline. And of that, the first outline that we've been talking about, we're going to finish today hopefully, is how to rely on the teacher, the Gewei Shenyan, the spiritual guide. You know the word Geshe?
I've heard it.
You've heard that. So it's a very common title in the Gelugpa tradition, but also it's used in some of the other of the Tibetan traditions to refer to various either academic distinction or some kind of title. Literally what it means is spiritual friend. Do you know that, right? Gewei Shenyan, Geshe. Sometimes people think it means one who knows virtue, but that's not how it's spelled. The she of Geshe doesn't mean to know or knowledge, it means friend. And Gewa means virtuous. So it's a translation of the Sanskrit, I think pronounced Kalaya Mitra, virtuous spiritual friend. So sometimes we refer, in the Mahayana Sutras, it's usually, when we talk about, in the sutras, usually it's talking about the Mahayana spiritual friend in the Prajnaparamita and other sutras. So here, this is the main outline, the fourth outline that mainly encompasses the whole text, how to lead the students with the actual instruction. So the first is how to rely on the teacher, who is the root of the path, or the virtuous friend who is the root of the path, or the reliance is the root of the path. Did anyone come to any conclusion? Don, what do you think?
Well,
Did you think about it?
I think it's the reliance, or But it's just an intuitive feeling. I looked here and I thought I found it here, and it says training in faith, the root. And reliance and faith are sort of have a similarity.
Right. Well, I think we touched on that last time. So that's something to think about. And the other main outline of this, maybe we may get to today, is a brief indication of how to. No, I'm sorry. That's it. Is it? Oh, maybe.
Page 356.
356. So this should be B. What's B? How to lead the students in the actual instruction has two. How to rely on the teacher, the root of the path, and what's B?
The stages of how the students train their minds after they have relied on the teacher on page 357 under chapter 7.
Okay. So chapter 5 is still how to rely on the teacher, the root of the path. Chapter 6, I think, is still that. And then chapter 7, the stages of how students train their minds after having relied on the teacher. That's the second outline. Chapter 7 is the second outline. Part B, if you have the text of Lanram Chemo here, chapter 4, relying on the teacher. Outline A, how to rely on the teacher. Its corresponding B is chapter 7, the stages of how to train their minds. Students train their minds after they have relied on the teacher. So we've been talking about that. And last time, and last couple times, we talked about how to rely on the teacher. Oh yeah, that's it. That's right there. Yes.
So we're still in chapter 4, right?
We're still on chapter 4, I believe. So the first section, we talked about a somewhat elaborate explanation for developing certainty, or it says certain knowledge. Certain knowledge sounds like, as opposed to something else, like certain kind of knowledge. So it means ascertainment or certainty. And a brief explanation, a brief indication of how to sustain meditation. So that's the part that we may get to today. So the somewhat elaborate explanation for developing certainty. This is talking about certainty about the Guru. This is on page 70. And let's see, oh, there. So further at the bottom of the page, it starts telling the sort of the outlines of that, the defining characteristics of the teacher. So we talked about the quotation from the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara. Do you remember, Lisa, how many qualities the Mahayana Guru supposedly has? No. Does anyone, do you remember? Who was here? Oh, 10, okay.
I was just recalling in my reading there were 3 that the Guru should have. Strong ethics, should be serene, meaning having the quality of meditative concentration, and have had training in wisdom. So those 3,
Higher wisdom. No.
higher wisdom.
What does that mean? Just sort of
Wisdom,
gone to college or what?
realizing emptiness.
So I think it means particularly to be trained in higher training of wisdom means to be trained in the union of shamatha and vipassana, especially centered on emptiness. And there are different explanations. Some of the texts say that one is different than one of the other 10 qualities that talk about having an understanding of thusness, thorough knowledge of reality. That this one refers to the selflessness of persons especially, and the other to the selflessness of phenomena, or can be just training in that wisdom that's able to realize that, and the later one perhaps meaning ideally the perfect guru would have a direct realization of emptiness. So there are 10 qualities. You've mentioned the first 3, that are mentioned in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara. And we mentioned how difficult in this degenerate age to find a teacher that has all 10, so there were various condensations of that. But basically, as our gurus say, most important things are that that you rely on a teacher who is compassionate and whose concern is mainly for the students' welfare and future lives at least, not just teaching you how to have a better samsara, better time now, right? Someone who has more knowledge than you. Those are some things that we can definitely find. And then as many of the rest of these qualities as one can find. Someone who's certainly trained has some, not just intellectual understanding, but some training over the years in the 3 higher trainings. Training of ethics and concentration and wisdom. And then these other qualities can embellish that. Someone who's, expert in explaining and so forth. So we talked about that for some time. And then we talked about, just reviewing for you people, the divining characteristics of the student, the disciple who relies upon the teacher. So we had a quotation from this famous text. You can find a very nice translation by translation of Aryadeva's text, the 400 stanzas of bodhisattva activity, yogic activity of bodhisattvas. So this is a text, remember Nagarjuna wrote this text that some of you received teachings in Toronto just recently, the Fundamental Wisdom, Mula Prajna. And that was his main treatise. And how many chapters does that have, Oma?
The Fundamental Wisdom? I don't know. He just told us 3 chapters that he was
I thought you
doing.
mean,
No.
That's how many chapters? It has like 28 chapters, something like that. Give or take? Give or take? Okay. And there were many commentaries of it. In the Chinese tradition especially, there's one commentary attributed to Nagarjuna, to his own Mula Prajna. But in the Tibetan tradition, especially Lama Tsongkhapa said, it doesn't look like that's an actual commentary. This one that the Chinese tradition, they hold in great reverence. Doesn't look like that's actually Nagarjuna's own writing, because one of the no, go ahead.
I apologize, but that was brought out at Toronto.
Uh-huh.
He was talking about, where it was really Nagarjuna's writing. I don't know if it was the Chinese, but they were saying, if you had to say there's 2 Nagarjunas and everything, then you'd have to say there's 2 of all of them who wrote the commentaries. And that, it wasn't 2 Nagarjunas.
Well, I think the argument here is that although the text was translated into Tibetan also, I believe, do you know, Venerable, what the argument is? That because Nagarjuna in there quotes, or the author quotes Aryadeva. Aryadeva was a disciple of Nagarjuna. So it's not in the tradition at all in the great scholars of India to quote their own disciples as sources to prove something they're trying to explain. So it seems that and some other kind of doctrinal points seem to indicate that that's not a commentary. But the famous commentaries on that, the ones we talked about in Tenets before, Bhava Viveka wrote a commentary on that. Buddhapalita wrote a commentary on that, and Bhava Viveka wrote a commentary kind of criticizing Buddhapalita's commentary, remember? Buddhapalita was kind of a, which tenet, do you remember? Who took tenets? Did you take tenets?
said to maybe the incarnate is Chandrakirti, but I've gotten their two names
Right.
mixed up.
Which
I'm not
one?
sure which is which.
So I'm a mnemonic device. Maybe you can think Buddhapalita was the better, more precise one. Buddhapalita. So he wrote a text called Buddhapalita, and he kind of is sometimes considered to be the founder of the Prasangika system. Bhava Viveka is kind of sometimes credited with the setting down, also the Madhyamika system of the Svatantrika. So they were both commentaries on the fundamental wisdom, but also Aryadeva himself wrote a commentary to that. He was the main physical disciple, and in the presence of Nagarjuna, he wrote this text called the 400 Stanzas of the Yogic Deeds of Bodhisattvas. And a very, very famous text. His Holiness has taught it on various occasions. I've mentioned it before. I think the second chapter or something, a fourth chapter, talks about the proving that samsaric happiness is actually the nature of suffering. This is a topic that I find very, very fascinating. You know, when we talk about the changeable suffering, what we call samsaric happiness, how it's actually the nature of suffering. So there are reasonings set out there. And the whole text is what's called a meaning commentary to the fundamental wisdom. That is to say, it doesn't go over every verse of fundamental wisdom, a word commentary saying this word means this. It quotes and the ideas of fundamental wisdom and gives a preparation for it. This is a text by Aryadeva that we see here. So Aryadeva was this great contemporary disciple of Nagarjuna. Then Chandrakirti, who was also considered to be a disciple of Nagarjuna, maybe at the end of Nagarjuna's life or in some mystical way, he wrote two commentaries to that fundamental wisdom, one of which, like this, is a meaning commentary, the Madhyamaka Avatara, entering into the middle way, or as Jeffrey Hopkins translates it, supplement to the middle way. That's the main text that all the Tibetan traditions, and I think Zen and some other traditions, use to study the middle way. And and Chandrakirti, that's his meaning commentary. So he explains and quotes a lot of the verses, but not everything in order, not all the verses of fundamental wisdom. And then he also wrote a word commentary. Do you know what that's called? The clearly worded, the Prasanapada. So that's, and it's Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary to that, so that we have fundamental wisdom, and then Chandrakirti's word commentary, and Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary to the word commentary by Chandrakirti. That's one of Lama Tsongkhapa's famous works that His Holiness, I think, may have taught last year. Have you ever heard His Holiness's teachings on Ritbe Gyatso, Ocean of Reasoning, they call Sawit Tikchen? Oh, maybe at Sera or in India. Maybe it's taught in Dharmasala. It's one of the great texts that Lama Tsongkhapa wrote on emptiness, that commentary. So here, this is a quotation that you can find in the 400 stanzas. It's nice to see it in context. He said, Aryadeva said, it is said that one who is non-partisan, remember we had debate about what that meant, maybe Geshe Zopa's translation was more like what? Open-minded or honest. Intelligent and diligent is a vessel for listening to the teachings. The good qualities of the instructor do not appear otherwise, nor do those of fellow listeners. So it's important, even if you found a good teacher, it'd be kind of useless if you don't have the qualities of a receptacle of the teachings, a vessel to pour the nectar into. And then the third section is how the student relies on the teacher, or the thing says how that relies on that. Remember, in our Tibetan class. And there are two ways of reliance: reliance in thought and reliance in action. So we were talking last time on how to rely in thought. So this had different outlines, 3 outlines. General indication of the attitudes needed to rely on the teacher. In particular, training in faith, which is the root. So it sounds like training is the root. And remembering the teacher's kindness and being respectful. So we talked a bit about in general things that are necessary. For instance, just to think, even in the world, you need to do any kind of become a carpenter or any kind of worldly trade, to become a cook. Did you have a teacher teach you how to cook, Tenzin? You didn't just pick up Cooking for Dummies or something? I mean, one might think, you know, pick up John Landau's book, Buddhism for Dummies. Why have a teacher? But even for worldly trades that we've done numberless times before, you've been a cook numberless lives before. Can you believe that? Dorji has, Oma has, I have. So even for something that's a worldly trade, a worldly knowledge, we need to have, it's best to have a teacher. So let alone on a journey that we've never finished before. We might have, many times we've begun this journey, other lifetimes, but we never finished it. So we need a guide going into unknown territory. We want to succeed. And all of the great teachers of the past, the Buddha and all of the great Indian followers and followers of other traditions, not just in India, all mention and extol the importance of relying on a spiritual friend, on a guru. So it's very, very important. We want to succeed. We don't want to fail. So that gives us some impetus. And then how it's possible to see there were different kinds of reasonings that we could use to overcome the doubts in the mind, like what was, Frank, you were saying, you know, what was your worry that one day?
I think how to tell when the guru is a person you put your faith in.
Right, you were afraid that maybe they could lead you in the wrong way or...
Rely on somebody who's improper.
Right. So obviously you have to check the qualities for a long time, but once you found someone with the qualities, there still could be the doubt. How could you rely on them? Because they look like an ordinary person. Like, you know, they don't even look like Brad Pitt. You know, it's just quite, maybe your teacher has warts on their nose or, you know, different kinds of disabilities or seeming kind of faults. So it's possible to see, you know, the example of the sun and the stars, that in the daytime, with the brightness of the sun, one is not able to see. Even though are the stars shining in the sky during the day? Or do they go off? They're on, right? But you can't see them because of the...
In California, they go off.
They go off. I thought that was in, maybe that's Northern California. So like that, the same thing with when we look at ourselves or our loved ones, we see their qualities, we see our own qualities, and it's almost like our faults are oblivious to us because we just think of our good qualities. I'm such a good person. I mean well. Others others misunderstand me. You know? And those people that we like, we see their qualities, and so their faults become very, very small. So we talked about that, and how it's possible to do the same by training with respect to the spiritual guide, because there are many, many reasons to understand further the importance of that, how it's possible, because Vajradhara himself, the tantric aspect of Buddha, prophesied that in the future, in a degenerate age, that he would appear in the world as teacher. And it was up to the disciples to recognize his manifestation, that even if the teacher wasn't actually Buddha, Vajradhara would enter into their being and receive the offerings and service, if one is making service to the guru, and would actually bestow blessings. If the teacher is a suitable, has qualities of a teacher, that as you listen to their teaching, believing that that's Buddha actually speaking, you know, if this is Buddha teaching me, that even if the person is not Buddha, by believing, by having that faith, one receives the blessings in one's mind stream of the Buddha. Remember we mentioned, even the Buddha was in front of you, and you were just thinking, I could be out surfing, or I don't know. Anyone surf here? Santa Cruz.
Not if the Buddha was here.
None of the Buddha was there. Good. Glad to hear that.
Standing room only.
I think Dorji and I do a lot of surfing, but we do it on the internet. But, even if the Buddha were here teaching and you didn't have faith in that, you would receive very little blessing, if any blessing at all, in your mind stream. Whereas if someone is not the Buddha, but a qualified teacher, and you have faith that you are receiving the teachings of Buddha, you receive immense blessings. You're actually guided, and you create the karma to actually meet actual manifestations of Buddha in future lives. How did these great gurus have the access to His Holiness and other great lamas? We might say, oh, I've got these lousy teachers or something like that. I want only the best one. Well, how can you create the karma to have that? By seeing your gurus as manifestations of Buddha. Then in the future, like Lama Tsongkhapa actually had actual appearance of Manjushri. He actually could ask Manjushri questions, actually dialogue with Manjushri. So, and you will be guided by actual manifestations of the Buddha in future lifetimes. So there's many important reasons to sort of enter into that. So then we talked about the training in faith, as it said in the Succession Yoga and in other texts on, I think I might have said Lama Chopa last time, but I'm not sure. I couldn't find the reference, these words in there. Probably is in one of the small print in Lama Chopa also. But developing faith by remembering the qualities, by contemplating the qualities of the Guru. And then developing respect by remembering their kindness, contemplating their kindness.
I read both of the texts, and I'm still not sure what
You read what?
faith means. Both of the texts that we're supposed to be studying.
Oh.
And I'm kind of vague on faith in the way it's meant to be applied in Buddhist terms.
Faith is a state of mind that causes the mind to become clear and virtuous. It's a virtuous mental factor. So, for instance, even though we might say, I have faith in George Bush or something like that, that's not what's meant by the Buddhist sense of faith. Faith is a virtuous mental factor that upon viewing objects that are significant spiritually cause our mind to become calm and clear. There's a general quality. So there's three kinds of faith. I would have asked Angie, had she come tonight, Venerable Angie. Do you remember, you know the three kinds of faith that are mentioned in the... We say, what do they say? Do we say blind faith? Is that one of them?
It's not one of them.
No, that's not. I mean, we might call it blind faith, but what's the fundamental kind of faith that is... is it lucid faith that is kind of arises perhaps from a lucidity, clear. In fact, this word lucidity sometimes is used in the texts to mean faith. I said, in a lucid state of mind, it means in a state of faith. Lucid faith arises perhaps from especially from karmic instincts from past lives, so it might be mistaken for blind faith. When perceiving the objects of reverence, of faith, say the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, one's teachers, or the Sangha, or whatever, or bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva's activities, other people who take on that kind of activity, perceiving those things, one's mind feels joy and becomes calm and devoid of negative states of mind. An intensification of that when one actually understands more deeply the qualities of the objects of faith, their existence and so forth, is what's called the faith of conviction. Right? You have a question? No? Right? You're thinking? Oh yeah. Good. You'll go back. You'll hit the books tonight. That's what we used to do at Kopan. We had debates at night with the Sangha, Lama Yeshe. We'd do morning puja. We would do Jorcho in the morning. We'd have breakfast, and then we'd break. We'd do our work, and then we'd come back and we'd do Vajrasattva at lunch. Vajrasattva Puja, then we'd have lunch, and then we'd come back and we would do Mahakala Puja in the evening, and then we would have debate. That is to say, one person had to sit on the hot seat. Maybe we'd get Dorji up here one night, and they would have to give a short little discourse, and then the other people could ask questions. And so we would, with a very competitive mind, and because kind of excitement rising. And then at the end, we would do the Confession Sutra of the 35 Buddhas, so at least you could go to bed feeling you hadn't created so much negative karma criticizing the other Sangha. And so yeah, we would, as soon as you got back to your room, you were always looking through your books. And what was that again? Why did I understand that right? Why didn't I remember that? So same kind of thing. So maybe you'll do that tonight. Third one. Oh, the third kind of faith is once you've developed that kind of faith of conviction, then you can develop what's called the faith of aspiration, to aspire to attain those qualities. So in a sense, although you can talk about them separately, in a sense, when you talk in a certain way of understanding, they're kind of sequential like that. You can talk about them separately also, but there is a way that they can be talked about in that way. So when we talk about faith in the spiritual friend, or faith, which is the root of the path, you're training in faith, it means to, what is the root faith? What is the faith of the guru? Faith, I wondered what the hell, is that it's a nest up there?
No, it's a fan.
Oh, is it? See, that's one of the things we talk about, that one of the reasons not to believe your own apprehension of faults in the guru is to recognize your own perceptions are often faulty. I thought, while we were meditating, I thought there were little birds up there. So it just shows you, even something like that, how you could be mistaken, let alone, you think there's faults in the guru, you can't trust your own perception. We make many kind of mistakes like that. So do you think they were birds? You saw. Okay. You had direct perception.
Direct perception.
Okay. Yeah. How are we?
We're supposed to be checking up on the guru.
Not so much we're supposed to be checking up on the guru. That sounds very American. We're supposed to check the guru, not checking up in the sense like whether they made some mistakes or something, but we're supposed to check the guru in over some period of time as to whether they're someone that we could devote ourselves to, in the sense of whether they have the qualities. So we shouldn't let our own ego get into it.
So my question is... That's all right.
I should thank you for giving me the chance. Yeah.
My question is, so if we're supposed to be spending this time watching the guru for these qualities, yet we have such deluded minds, how do we ascertain what's our deluded mind and what's
That's
the
the crux of the problem, because at the beginning we may very well be attracted to a teacher that tells us things that accord with our guru. Go out, have sex. Do it. You haven't found that too? Well, there's some that do. They're very fan.
Of course, that one told me not to.
No. So you have to check. Faith is something that increases as your knowledge increases. At first, there may be some sense of lucidity in the mind, some sense of confidence or faith that arises because of some imprints from past lifetimes in investigating. But you have to check further. When we say checking the guru, it doesn't mean checking, how did you say? Checking out. Sort of like, you have to make sure that your ego doesn't get involved in that, because oftentimes, you might find a teacher that's attractive or charismatic, and you have to recognize that that's not what you can rely on. Remember, we've talked before about the 4 reliances. Do you remember? I mentioned so many times. Who knows? Mark, do you know the 4 reliances? I mentioned them. Doesn't ring a bell at all? I wish I had a bell to ring. Venerable, do you know the 4? Don't rely on the person of the teacher, rely on teaching. And then of the teachings, don't rely on the words, rely on the meaning, right? And of the meaning, don't rely on the interpretive meaning, but rely on that which is definitive. And with respect to that definitive meaning, don't rely on an ordinary mind, but rely on the meditative equipoise, direct realization. So I think particularly at this time, you have to recognize it's so easy to sort of see think you see qualities in someone, which is all your emotional projection, because they're charismatic or beautiful, or, if Brad Pitt became, I was joking before, do you like Brad Pitt? Do you like Brad Pitt?
Do I what?
Do you like Brad Pitt?
I think he's very attractive.
Okay, yeah. I think a couple of years ago it was Richard Gere. Now Richard is a little older. He's too old. Brad is just the right age, I guess. So you have to be careful. You have to really see whether the person has the qualities that are important, that the Buddha said were important. And you have to, over time, that's why you have to check over time. The checking is more about from your own side, not so much to see, to find fault with the guru, but to check whether they are someone who has these kind of qualities, whether they have more knowledge than you, whether they are, restrained and whether they're compassionate, whether they have skill, whether they know more than the disciple, and these various qualities. Then, when you've ascertained that they have these qualities, it's possible to say that they're someone that you could rely on. And then you have to use the other reasons to develop the faith that they are the guru. My own perceptions are not reliable. The Buddha said he would appear in the world in this time. If there are Buddhas appearing in the world, what's their purpose in appearing? To lead me on the path. Here I am, the Buddhas are over here. If my teacher is not the Buddha, who can you point to? Who's the Buddha? Tony Robbins, or, only the Dalai Lama is the Buddha? No, there are numberless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas appearing in the world. So maybe, I don't know, maybe more Buddhas, what do you think? Sometimes more Buddhas than there are sentient beings, maybe. Maybe it's so bad that maybe more of us, more of you are Buddhas, and I'm talking, maybe there's only one sentient being out here in this audience. Maybe there's no one. And all of you are Buddhas looking appreciative at me so that I would have a chance to explain the Dharma, to calm my own mind, to think about it, to prepare. Tom? Yes, your name, Tom, right?
Do you have a guru?
I have several gurus, yes.
How did you know that there was someone that you could rely on? How did that process work for you?
It took some time, and it's something that I think, because probably I'm a beginner in the path, so it's something that's still being refined by studying the teachings to find out what is proper and what is not. Because as we said many times in the teachings, the Buddha extolled hearing, listening to the teachings. That means you could say reading or studying. Because until you've been told what's right, you're just going on your own predispositions, what do they call it? Not common knowledge, what do you call it? Common sense, yeah, maybe, your worldly knowledge, your imprints from past lives, which, if you're like myself, just a beginner on the path, maybe just quite rudimentary, not necessarily very virtuous instincts. So you need to read and find out the qualities. So in hearing courses and seeing the behavior of my own teachers with their teachers, and seeing how they excelled because of that. And then when you do have moments when you can in meditation, when you're meditating on reliance of the Guru in thought, and you're developing faith that this is actually, my teacher is actually manifestation of Buddha. When you can have those moments, the mind becomes very, very, how do you say, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, very moist. Like you could easily grow realizations in that mind. Whereas when the mind is skeptical and doubtful, a little bit angry maybe sometimes, I won't mention Sometimes we get angry at our spiritual friends. At moments like that, it's almost like the mind is like desert. You know, it's very difficult to make any kind of realization. So you can find that in your own experience. And then you see, again, you go back to the teachings again and again from the beginning. I want to succeed. I don't want to fail. This is something that has great ramifications. If the teacher is a qualified teacher, if they have the qualities, you know, more qualities than not, let's say, than other teachers, and they are a Buddhist teacher, and they have this basis that we can impute guru onto. In so doing, we can actually receive the blessings of the Buddha by saying, if the Buddha, even if Shakyamuni were here appearing as the supreme Nirmanakaya, you know, as he did 2,500 years ago in the world, some people saw. Some people didn't see him as supreme Nirmanakaya, dependent upon their karma. But even if the Buddha was appearing here now, the Buddha wouldn't be teaching us anything different than what my teacher is teaching. Sometimes I've heard people criticize His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, saying, "Oh, I heard that before," or, you know, yeah, there was nothing, I expected more from the Dalai Lama or something. It's just, you know, even if Shakyamuni Buddha was here, those people would be dissatisfied, you know. You know, Avalokiteshvara would be there sending out beams of light, and they would say, "Oh, he's not high enough intensity. You know? I want a different shade." I don't know what they would find. You know, it would be something. It would be a matter for the Daily Enquirer or whatever the newspaper is.
I'm not quite sure how to say what I'm going to say, or ask what I'm going to ask. So, my understanding also is that we should be viewing each other, each and every being, whether it's human or not, as a teacher, as Buddha. So, unless I would imagine that would keep our minds very moist and flexible, that would be good practice to have.
Atisha said in one of his advices, I believe it's in the Rosary of Bodhisattva advice, that you should try to see even your enemies in a good light. You should see your enemies as teachers. You should see your friends as teachers. If you can train in that way, not in the sense that they are necessarily your guru, but not to develop just the ordinary negative mind, then when you train with respect to the guru, obviously that's that much easier. It's the same thing. Say, for instance, you were saying, I'm not going to practice with any lesser guru. I'm only going to take, you know, who's the head of the Sakya tradition? Sakya Trizin, His Holiness Sakya Trizin, or I'm going to only take, you know, the Karmapa, Gyalpa Karmapa, or I'm only going to take His Holiness the Dalai Lama as my guru, or I'm only going to take, who's the head of the Nyingma tradition right now? Pano Rinpoche is only, anyone else, not good enough for me. You know, if you have that kind of mind, you might be limited a little bit because it's hard to come in contact, to have any kind of direct contact with them. Remember we said if you have a physical guru, actual physical manifestation, you receive very quick realizations, very quick blessings. If you view your teacher as perfect, even if they're not present, like my teacher is the Buddha, or my teacher is Peno Rinpoche, and I read his Dzogchen text or something, but I don't actually have interaction with him, you can receive very powerful blessings. So if you have a teacher who is both present and you see as perfect, you receive both powerful and quick blessings. So there's an importance in having a physical guru, not just to consider Buddha, Shakyamuni as your guru, and all these recent ones are not good enough for me. So if you train with respect to a lesser, you know, because of your karma, it might actually be Buddha, who you think, you know, some outlying monastery in Kham, someone might think, oh, my room teacher, he's not really Buddha. He might have been actually Buddha. Who do you know? You know, if the Buddhas are appearing according to our karma, and they're appearing to all of us in various guises, so there's no reason you can prove that they are not.
So, Venerable, you could even if you saw this, let's say somebody like Choden Rinpoche or Rinpa Rinpoche, you could consider them your guru, even though you might see them only once a year.
Yeah, you can see that as your. There's no problem. If you develop, you can take them as your objects of contemplation. Sometimes with great lamas, maybe it's easier for our deluded minds to see them as perfect, especially because you don't have that much contact with them. You know, so something like Milarepa said, and there's some quotes coming later. You know, sometimes it's to be too close to the guru is dangerous, because you think you start to see faults, and to be too far from the guru is not good either, because you don't receive any kind of advice. So sometimes it's good to be close to the guru for a certain amount of time, and then to find the proper distance, not to be, what do you say in American Los Angeles slang, not to be in their face, or not to have them in your face. For us in this degenerate age, it's better to have fewer gurus, not to consider every single, not to think we have to have hundreds or thousands of gurus. Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned there were for some people's minds who are perhaps trained in past lifetimes or have certain instincts, it's good to have many gurus. Atisha had, 150, what does it say, 153 gurus or something? He saw them all as Buddha. For us, that would be very difficult. So for people like ourselves who are not so trained, it's better to have fewer gurus, and to, but not to discard the possibility that the guru appears in less, not to accept only that the guru is going to appear as, some high ranking, like the Panchen Lama, or only Sakya-Trisen Rinpoche, or something like that. Okay, so we talked about, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Going back to this three kinds of faith.
Yeah.
If I understood you right, you said it could be sort of seen as a progression.
Well, it can be seen as a progression, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have. There are other presentations when they don't mention that it's a progression, but.
Looking at it like that.
Could you expand a little bit on what the lucid faith is? Is it just that first understanding, getting a feeling?
Lucid faith is a state of mind where the mind becomes lucid or clear of the disturbing emotions by focusing upon the objects of faith. So that can arise because of seeing qualities in them now, or seeing their serene appearance, or just their charisma or whatever. It can arise from karmic instincts from past lifetimes, of seeing the sangha, or seeing the sangha, or seeing someone who has given up this lifetime and feeling, oh wow, And that could actually, even at that point, there might be a sense of aspiring faith, because one has cultivated that in previous lifetimes. So it doesn't mean that they have to be sequential, but they can be. You can increase them sequentially like that, but you could have, even from the beginning, you could have all three kinds of faith. So just as before we have a little break, let me just mention. So we're going to now talk about, just to review a little bit about the developing respect by remembering the kindness, and we review that, and then we're going to continue to the next section, the benefits of relying on the teacher and the faults of improperly devoting oneself to the guru. So let's take a little break.
Aren't you going to say 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening, just to kind of let it be a little easier?
Well, usually the point of doing something like this in 6 sessions, same as remembering the benefits of bodhicitta and so forth 6 times a day. What it means is to try to keep a continuity every 4 hours. So in the best way of doing it is every 4 hours you would say take refuge and generate that mind of refuge. Every 4 hours you would generate bodhicitta, so that you'd have a continuity that can continue to the next 4 hours. So the Buddha gave that kind of advice. So that when we do the 6-session yoga, that's also keeping the commitments of refuge and bodhicitta, and also what are called the general vows, general samayas of the 19 samayas of the 5 Buddha families. So that some of them you have to do 6 times a day to keep that continuity. Okay? Tenzin?
In the stuff they handed out at the Kali Chakra, there was a watered down Western version that said you can only do it once a day.
A watered down Western version that said you could do it just once a day.
Yeah, that's what the stuff that they gave us at the Kali Chakra.
Okay, you'd have to bring that to me. I don't know what that is. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was weird too, but
Okay, maybe that's a
busy Westerners.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure what that is about. Maybe it recites it. Maybe it says it 6 times, and you. Okay, so now we talk about the benefits of relying on the teacher, on the virtuous guide. So this is a very, very important topic in order to sort of impel your mind when you see the benefits. I think we were a couple days ago when we began this talk, someone said, why doesn't it talk about the benefits at the beginning? Someone had asked. So these are the 10 benefits, 8 benefits of relying on the spiritual guide. And then there are 8 defects of not relying or misrelying. Unrelying? Misrelying? Not relying properly. Improperly relying on the spiritual friend. Making mistakes and so forth. So here they're not enumerated with numbers, but you can kind of see it this way. By relying on the teacher, you'll become closer to Buddhahood. You know, it sounds like, well, okay, you could say anything. Why? Well, because in relying, the Buddha himself said that properly relying on the spiritual friend is one of the greatest ways to accumulate virtuous karma, both relying on the guru in thought and in practice. Okay? So in accumulating merit and purifying negative karma, that, say, for instance, in following the advice of the guru, feeling depressed, undergoing different kinds of hardships, one also purifies negative karma, so one gets closer to Buddhahood. This is said to be the first benefit. You'll please the conquerors. That means the Buddhas, all of the Buddhas, because what pleases the Buddhas is our practice that gets us closer to enlightenment, and this is said to be, in the Mahayana especially in Tantra, is said to be the principal way of pleasing the Buddhas by practicing Guru devotion. It's said that realizations come to when you please the Buddha, when you please the Guru. So following as in Tantra and so forth, following that kind of idea, you will please the conquerors. Second, you will not be bereft of future teachers. You will not be bereft of teachers in the future lifetimes, I believe what it means. So this is another way especially to think, I think especially, by criticizing the teacher by creating discord and distance, what kind of karma you're creating? We're creating the karma that even in future lifetimes we won't be able to find spiritual teachers. We will be bereft of or separated from spiritual teachers. Even now, there are people who've come to classes sometimes here, and they have some kind of karma is ripening, and they just feel, this is not for me. And even though there might be teachers around, they don't have the karma because of past life's instincts to practice Guru devotion. So if we want to be able to, as I said also, by seeing your teachers now, you don't know if they actually might be Buddha, but even if they're not Buddha, by seeing them as Buddha, if they're a reputable teacher, then you create the karma to actually meet Buddhas in future lifetimes. You won't be bereft of teachers in future lifetimes. And also you'll see more and more, you'll see them in a more and more perfect form. Even if the form now is actually Buddha, you'll see them in more and more easily recognizable forms in the future. Remember Asanga? He saw Maitreya as what? Dog. And Naropa saw his guru Tilopa as what? You know? Fisherman. Looked like just a fisherman eating the, what was he eating? The heads of the fish? The entrails? Okay, eating the entrails, throwing them back into the water and so forth. Many stories like that, even highly realized beings, at first, the gurus appeared in what appeared to be very mundane form, but because of their faith, they were able to see them in pristine form later. So that's a third benefit here. You will not fall into the unfortunate realms, the suffering realms. So when we talk about the Ngensong, those who have gone to misery, I guess you could say, the suffering realms. That means the three lower realms, the animal, preta, and hell realms. You following the guru, you won't fall into the lower realms?
No, that's not necessarily true.
No? What was it? This says here, isn't it? It says here, you will not fall into miserable realms.
Well, but if there's something non-virtuous that they're trying to get you to do.
If there's something that the guru is trying to get you to do that's non-virtuous, that's not proper reliance on the guru. Because as we see later, if the guru, it's up to the disciple not just to accept everything the guru says. You have to check. Exactly. If the guru tells you to do something that's improper, non-virtuous, one should not do that. You know, one shouldn't be disrespectful and say, "Heh, you're telling me to do something non-virtuous. I'm not doing that." You should be respectful, and you never know. There may be many reasons for them suggesting that, but that's not what's meant here. You will not fall in the lower realms because by practicing with respect to the guru, sometimes the karma that would cause you to be reborn in the lower realms can actually ripen this lifetime as a scolding by the guru, or you might think they scolded you. They actually didn't scold you. Know, they maybe didn't even scold you. By headaches or some kind of fatigue in fulfilling the instructions, working for serving the guru and so forth. Right now we don't see the way that guru devotion was practiced so much in the past. Real, intense, devotion to the guru. There are different ways of devoting oneself to the guru, in thought and in action. So in terms of action, to serve the guru is one of the ways of doing that. It's not the main way. Also to make offerings to the guru, we'll see in a couple of minutes. And the main way, the supreme way of serving the guru is to put into practice what they teach, really assiduously. So in doing that, one can cause the negative karma that could cause one to be falling into the lower realms to ripen this lifetime. The Buddha, there may be exceptions, but in general, if you have a proper guru devotion, it's said that the Buddhas themselves will manifest in ways that can help for these heavy negative karmas to ripen before one falls into the lower realms. So what is that, number 4, I guess? You won't be afflicted by bad karma, so that bad karma will be purified by practicing with respect to the guru, nor will you be afflicted by, or affected by, or overcome by the afflictions, the delusions. So karma and afflictions are counted separately here. Through mindfulness of the bodhisattva deeds, and by not contravening them, your collection of good qualities will continue to increase, and you will will continue to increase. So your good qualities will increase by practicing the bodhisattva deeds as advised by your teacher. You'll reach all of your here it says provisional and final goals, your temporal and ultimate aims. So even the aims of this lifetime, you will achieve. You know, what do you want to be? Happy? You know, you want to we want to be happy, isn't it? Even your aims of this lifetime will be fulfilled effortlessly, let alone your ultimate aims of liberation and enlightenment. I can remember once when I'd gone to Nepal many times and I'd never seen Mount Everest. But my teacher Lama Yeshe asked me to go to Laudo, the monastery that Lama Zopa Rinpoche built, where Lama Zopa Rinpoche was meditated in his previous life. And because a text had been bought, a set of the Tengyur, the translations of the commentaries of Buddhist scriptures by one man whose father had owned them, and now his father had passed away, I think, and he wanted to sell them. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche, out of compassion, wanted to buy, because his main idea in selling them was to get money. So I can remember when we paid over the money to him, he said, "Now I'm a rich man." And so Lama Zopa Rinpoche wanted to help to lessen that negative karma by himself buying this. So my job was to go and count, make sure that all the pages were there. Lama Yeshe was very wrathful. He said, every page missing, 10 rupees less, or 100 rupees less, something like that. I think it was 100, because the guy wanted some immense amount of money. And so while following the Guru's advice, orders, every day I could see Mount Everest. You know, I would walk, you know, and not every day, but just within walking distance, because we were in Namche Bazaar, and something just to walk up to because that's where he had the text. So we just walk up to the top of the hill where there was the Japanese airport, and it's over to the Japanese hotel, see Mount Everest. So just by the way, your temporal aims and your ultimate aims will be achieved. And you will reach, and obtaining virtue through serving and respecting the teacher with thought and practice, you will accomplish others' welfare as well as your own, and complete the collections of merit and sublime wisdom. So you accumulate the two collections. Do you know what the two collections are? What, Red Cross and Blue Cross? No.
Merit and wisdom?
Collections of merit and wisdom. So collecting merit means what? Accumulating virtuous karma. What's the reason for accumulating the collection of merit? What's the result of that? You have good rebirths? Do you know them? The ultimate result is the ability to emanate the form bodies of the Buddha, the Nirmanakaya and the Sambhogakaya, but also the Bodhisattvas accumulate merit also to manifest their own Pure Land, where they achieve enlightenment, manifest enlightenment, but they have a Pure Land for the benefit of others. I often think that people who believe they'll be born in heaven with Christ, I think Christ was a great emanation of Buddha or Bodhisattva, and that what the Christians call heaven is actually Christ's Pure Land. That's just my own personal view, because people who have that karmic connection with him may be able to be born there and be taught more, and then, continue along in their spiritual development. And the collection of wisdom is what? Studying the Lan Rim, or what? What's the collection of wisdom accumulated from? Pardon? Study, general? Going to school, getting your BS, receiving teachings. So here, collection of wisdom is very particular. It refers to transcendental wisdom of emptiness. So although other things can lead to that, the knowledge that we accumulate along, how to practice the Bodhisattva deeds and so forth, that's not considered to be accumulation of wisdom. So the collection of wisdom is brought about when one has insight into emptiness, when one has realization of emptiness, and along the path of seeing and meditation, one accumulates this. And we try to do that now. For instance, when we we try to practice all of the Bodhisattva's deeds within the understanding of emptiness. Remember we talked about when we dedicate the merits, we try to dedicate the merits within the emptiness of the three spheres. The merits, the object, the goal dedicated to, and the act of dedication are all empty. Same thing when you make charity. You offer something, you offer some grains of sugar to the ants. You ever do that? And you try to think that the object offered and the recipient and the donor, yourself, are all empty of true existence. So you try to unify the practice of the perfection of wisdom with each of the perfections. So in so doing, you begin to accumulate the collection of wisdom. So there are many benefits of relying on the teacher. We've talked about them before. Remember I said that if the Buddha enters, even your teacher is not actually Buddha. By seeing them as Buddha, well, first of all, you don't know, because your own perceptions, you don't know who's Buddha. I thought there were birds up there, right? That's a good example. Or, example, you're standing in a line and waiting for an Indian ticket in the train station in India for a long, long time, maybe 2 hours or something. And then just when you're about to, someone comes and pushes you out of the way. It's very common, isn't it? It's usually at the end, or just when you're just about there, someone just tries to break the line. And then you see it's your friend. You can see that at one moment you were thinking there was an enemy, and the next minute there was no real enemy. Our perceptions are not reliable. So by seeing the teacher as, do you see what I'm saying? Even the teacher seems not to be the Buddha. If they have the qualities, you keep on thinking, oh, they can't be Buddha. They've got these mistakes. They don't speak English right. Their teeth are crooked. Or like this one interviewer with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, this guy that had the interview that was put on CNN a couple of years ago. One day, maybe we can see it together. He said, how you're supposed to be a god. He's saying, instead of the Buddha saying, you're supposed to be a god. How come the gods didn't give you perfect eyesight? And His Holiness starts laughing, and he said, not only that, I have to die. Like big deal. He didn't give, So we might think, oh yeah, the Dalai Lama, he can't be perfect. He can't be Buddha. He's got bad eyes, or he's got high cholesterol, or I don't know what, Those, you can't use those kinds of arguments to say that someone is not a Buddha. So in doing so, you accumulate incredible merit. That the Buddhas themselves, the way that their teachings can come through to us is through the vehicle of the Guru, like a lens. The blessings of the Buddha can be condensed through the efficacy of the Guru. If the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas are definitely appearing in the world today, as we believe, as we start to understand the possibility of enlightenment, that there are numberless Buddhas, and that they are definitely, out of compassion, appearing in some guise for us. Who else are these Buddhas? Is that our teachers are not Buddhas, but someone else is? It doesn't make sense if you think about it. And as Geshe Zopa says in his book, and a very common expression, if my teacher is not the Buddha, who is? If this is not Buddha, who is? Who could I point to? Who's guiding me? So there are ways, thinking in that way, you accumulate a great collection of merit, you purify negative karma. By the blessings of the Buddha, karma to be born in the lower realms can ripen this lifetime. You create the karma to see gurus in future lifetimes, always from an early age to be under the guidance of gurus, never to be separated from gurus in future lifetimes. You collect all the good qualities by being close to the gurus, emulating their qualities, and so forth. So these are, in general, the benefits of relying on the teacher. The defects of not relying is this word nyemik. Did we have in our Tibetan class, did we talk about that? Maybe it was something else, nyemik, faults or defects of not relying on the teacher or improperly relying on the, it says matempe nemik, I think, in the Tibetan. So it can mean not just not relying, but kind of improperly relying. If you've taken someone as your teacher and then your method of reliance is wrong, so it's not just talking about not relying on the teacher. This matempe means like not properly relying. Not only will you be harmed by much madness and sickness in this lifetime, but in future lifetimes as well, you will experience immeasurable suffering in miserable realms for an immeasurable period of time. So in general, it said in the, like in Dharamsala and Geshe Darge's book all the time, it says the 8 defects are the opposite of the 8 benefits. What was the first one? You get closer to enlightenment, so you'll get farther from enlightenment by improperly relying on the guru, and you will be afflicted by, negative karma and so forth, and your especially your aims will not be fulfilled. Your temporal and ultimate aims will not be fulfilled. Many times people with a lot of egoism disdain their teachers, and then they engage in some kind of program to promote themselves or something. But although they might have some short success, in the long run, they will, even in this lifetime, they won't achieve their goals, let alone in future lifetimes. So there's a very, very powerful quotation here from the Tantra bestowing the initiation, the empowerment of Vajrapani. So Vajrapani, the holder of the secrets, one of the tantric emanations of Buddha, not only one of the 8 bodhisattvas, but also the individual who requested many of the tantras, he said to the Buddha, Bhagavan, what sort of fruition is there? What's the maturation for those who reproach their masters? And the Buddha answered, Vajrapani, don't ask me. Don't ask that question, for the answer will frighten the world, including the gods. However, Lord of Secrets, that's one of the epithets of Vajrapani, right? We say, what's that? Guyapati, I think in Sanskrit. Sangwe Dak. Remember we talked about this before in the mantra of Lama Tsongkhapa. However, Lord of Secrets, I will say something, O hero, listen carefully. As I have explained, any of the unbearable hells resulting from such karma as the deeds of immediate retribution are said to be the abode of those who reproach their teachers. They must stay there for limitless eons. Therefore, never reproach your master on any occasion. What are the actions of immediate retribution? Frank, you know. I remember one time when I tried to give an enumeration of them, you were right on it. What are the 5 actions of immediate retribution?
Harming a bodhisattva.
All right, let's see. Let's get some. The way the Buddha. Killing your mother, killing your father. With intention, not just like accidentally, your cigarette fell down and you burned up the house or something.
Drawing blood from.
Killing an arhat.
Killing an
Causing schism. And
to Buddha.
Drawing blood with negative intention. Not just accidentally, you're shaving his head and you cut him, That's not action of immediate retribution, but with an intention to harm, drawing blood from the Buddha. So those are called the 5 actions of immediate retribution that the Buddha taught, especially famed in the Theravada tradition, that without any intercession of another lifetime, when this lifetime finishes, you go directly to the Avicii hell, the hell of greatest suffering, and remain there for a long period of time. So that's one of the big obstacles. If we've created one of the actions of immediate retribution this lifetime, that would be a big obstacle to we couldn't call this a life of leisure and endowment. Remember when we talk later, when we talk about the 8 freedoms and 10 endowments, to have committed these actions this lifetime would be something that you would not be endowed with that kind of richness of having the continuity of future lifetimes, possibility of human lifetime, because you'd be born in hell immediately. So the Buddha said in many, many other tantras also, don't even ask. That would break, if I told you that their heads would split open, the heavy negative karma of reproaching the guru. You can just see by criticizing the guru, developing negative thoughts about them, one creates the karma to be separated. Not only just the karma to be reborn somewhere in the future, but to be separated and not to find easily guides in the future. 50 verses of Guru devotion says, "You who despise the master, you greatly confused person, will die by poison, demons, infectious disease, leprosy, contagious fever, or other illnesses." That sucks. Okay. There we go. Okay. "You will also go to hell after being killed by a king or a fire, or by poisonous snakes, water, dakas, thieves, demons, or deceptive spirits. Never disturb in any way the minds of the masters, for if you are confused and do so, you will definitely roast in a hell. It is explained that those who despise their masters will abide in any of the frightening hells that have been explained, such as the unrelenting." So, these are things we don't want to hear. We don't like to hear about the hells or suffering, right? Don't even want to think about them. But
Good reminder.
good reminder. But it's if they do exist, we don't know. We can't say with certainty they don't exist. If they do exist, it's what the Buddhas were explaining. We're not like what we might consider our high school. Did you go to a Catholic high school? Anyone with a Catholic high, or grade school? Did you go?
Yeah.
Huh? You went. Yeah. Were your mouth washed out by the sisters or something?
Oh.
Or or you think, oh yeah. In your case, I'm not. Yeah, I'm sure I won't even ask. It would cause our heads to split open, and no. Yeah, we might think that it's just the Buddha's kind of like the nuns in school who told you if you do this, you'll go to hell. You'll get blisters on your hands or whatever. So, but the intention of the Buddha in saying this is not to frighten or to intimidate people, but out of compassion and wisdom to cause people to, once you know that something is dangerous, you avoid that, like fire. If you know that fire is hot, once you've learned that, you have a certain wisdom that will prevent you knowingly from frivolously putting your hand in the fire. What was going? Yeah. Okay.
I think they're referring to biological mother and father, but
Yeah.
then.
So what are you thinking?
Well,
So if you're a test tube baby, you're wondering? Although it didn't talk about test tube baby in the Abhidharma Kosha, there is an analysis of all these different things. If the ovum is put in another womb, who is your mother, and so forth and so on. That would be the action of immediate right. That's not what you were going to ask, right? Okay, but there's an analysis of those things. Yeah.
Every being is really our mother. Then.
So you can't kill anyone.
I know.
Well, you got a list?
No.
Well, when we talk about karma, the heaviness of karma with respect to various beings, various objects, our present parents are next to the gurus and the Buddhas, holy beings like that, the high fields. Our parents are very, very powerful objects of karma because they've been kind to give us this body. So your mother from a past life and other all the sentient beings who have been your mothers in other lifetimes, although they've been kind numberless times, they don't have that immediate karma of having given us this body, so the karma in killing them is not as heavy as killing your mother and father this lifetime. Then we'll review this again next time a little bit. Hopefully you'll have a chance to read this and study a little bit. No.
It said that haven't there been people in the scriptures who have killed their mothers and fathers, and they've met the Buddha and they found a way to purify it because they've changed their mind, like they truly, turned and engaged in practice that purified it. So even those uninterruptible, they could be purified, or
it doesn't say they can't be purified. If they're not purified, you definitely, without any interruption, like other kinds of heavy karma, maybe you kill someone this lifetime. You're a mafia or gangland person, you kill someone. It may be that will not ripen the next lifetime. It will ripen, unless you purify it, it'll ripen sometime. But these actions of immediate retribution are heavy enough that definitely next lifetime, if they're not purified, they'll ripen.
if they're not purified.
Yeah, they're not purified.
So
Sometimes in the Theravada tradition, some people, it may be that there's some Theravada scriptures that say they can't be purified, but in general, I don't think that's all of the Theravada accepts that, because Ajatashatru, who's Ajatashatru? Do you know Venema? He was the king. He was the son of King Bimbisara, who imprisoned his father, who then died in the prison, and he killed his mother, and he drew blood from with Devadatta. They caused this boulder to be rolled down the hill at the Buddha, and some splinters of that caused blood to be drawn from the Buddha, and he supported Devadatta in Devadatta's aim to cause schism in the Sangha. And in killing, either his mother or father had attained arhatship. So he did all five. Heavy, yeah, accomplished dude. Heavy dude. He was toast. And so there's the famous episode when the Buddha appeared to him in his despair. When he recognized this, it was just totally, when he got back to his senses, realized what he'd done, he just was totally incapable and depressed of incapable of practicing the Dharma because of depression. So the Buddha appeared to him and said, "It's right to kill your mother. It's right to kill your father." So was the Buddha speaking literally, definitively there? No. He had an intention. Do you know what his intention was? Mother.
He should kill his delusions.
Yeah, mother is kind of like, I guess, like the delusions. The father is kind of like what is the cooperative along with that, the father, like the karma perhaps. So the Buddha's intention was to lead him to that, but it causes his mind at least calm down a little so that he could think. So So he was able in that lifetime to achieve realization. I think he achieved arhatship, Ajatashatru. So nowadays, when we do something really bad, it's kind of hard to find people that have that kind of karma, that resiliency to. Yes.
Well, my question was then, if that could be purified, then if in beginning to rely on a spiritual teacher. If you make mistakes, if I make mistakes because I'm extremely proud and very arrogant and think I'm right all the time, and it's hard for me to sit even for the length of an entire teaching without thinking I'm right and the teacher's wrong all the times.
Right, I'm wrong. I'm right.
That it's okay. I mean, I can then catch myself and apply this.
It's possible to purify this karma, but some karma is heavier than other karma. It's harder to purify. So karma with respect to the guru is even heavier than the karma. Karma, the 5 actions of immediate retribution, from a Mahayana perspective, is not that difficult to purify. But the karma with respect to disrespecting the guru is harder to purify. Other things, like for instance, anger with respect to bodhisattvas. You know, when you generate, or someone who's higher than oneself, say a lower bodhisattva getting angry at a higher bodhisattva, that kind of karma, even if you apply remedies, you apply the how many opponent forces are there? 4 opponent forces, okay. I was going to say if you would fall for 5. 4 opponent if you apply the 4 opponent forces, even then, such karma can't necessarily be purified. It can put off realizations that one is about to make and so forth. So some karma is heavier. Pardon?
Is disrespecting a higher bodhisattva one of the major downfalls?
It's one of the heavier kinds of karma that's very, very difficult to purify. 18? It's not called one of the 18. I'm just saying there. Yeah, but it's not called one of the downfalls of the bodhisattva. It's just a heavy karma. Heavy karma.
The primary and the secondary?
Yeah. That's not talking about the only way you create negative karma. That's how you can lose your bodhisattva vows or damage them. But here, we're just talking about heavy negative karma in general. The different kinds of heavy negative karma, killing your mother and father is like pretty heavy. You know, drawing blood from the Buddha, causing schism in the Sangha. But even those can be purified in this lifetime. But karma such as criticizing bodhisattvas and karma with respect to the guru, very difficult to purify this lifetime. It's possible. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa says in his teachings on guru devotion that you should try to avoid these, and even if you create them, immediately apply the antidotes and to strive not to do them again. Once you start to see these things. So when as we're all beginners on the path, so we think, oh my gosh, the times I got mad at, and said these things, and I'm doomed. I might as well give up. I'm roast. I'm toast. But like sometimes we say, oh, I've created so much negative karma, even though I heard the Dharma, I might as well give up. Well, that's a foolish way to think, because the only way to change this behavior, this behavior has come about because of habits over numberless lifetimes. Now when you begin to see it, you start to realize what a heavy predicament it is, and then now that you've got the wisdom to do something about it and you give up, it's like stupid, Now you've got the chance to change it because you see that, what you've been doing is stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So rather than thinking, oh, I might as well give up because I've created this negative karma, you never thought of it before previous lifetimes, Or we just convinced ourselves it was right to, these dumb people. So let me just try to finish a little bit more here. So then, next section, a summary of the meaning of the previous 5 parts. So, thus you must also understand, as explained above, the instruction that is renowned as Guru Yoga, Lama Neljor, we say in Tibetan. Guru Yoga, is that English? That's Sanskrit, right? That's actually how you say it in Guru Yoga. What does Guru Yoga mean? That means some kind of asanas? No, yoga. What does yoga mean? Venerable, do you know what yoga means from a Buddhist perspective? Like the yoke? Yoga is related with that word that has come into English as yoke, to join to things. But in Buddhist perspective, what's the Tibetan word? Anyone? We had Neljor. So Nelba means that which is authentic. Jorwa has the sense of yoga. Sometimes Jorwa just means yoga. It means to join, among other things, or prepare, or to join, like the Jorlam, the path of joining or connection, or sometimes called path of preparation. They're different etymologies. Neljor means joining to that which is authentic. So it means bringing your being into juxtaposition, more into connection, joining with the ultimate perfection, becoming closer to Buddha. Or in the case of meditative yoga, what it means is bringing your mental continuum, your wisdom, into a state where it is perceiving reality as it actually is. You know, so we talk about different kinds of yoga. So Lama Naljor, or Guru Yoga, what does that mean? Does that mean becoming the Guru? Blending your mind stream in the... Yeah, in a sense, you might say that if you understood it the right way, it means to try to join oneself with the qualities of the Guru, as understood, not the faulty vision you have of the Guru, but the Guru as Buddha. Because the principal precept of Guru Yoga, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all the great gurus say, the principal precept is to see all gurus as Buddha, to see all Buddhas as Guru. So even if you're practicing Tantra, to see Vajrayogini as your Guru, or Kala Chakra is your Guru, and your Guru is Kala Chakra. Very difficult at the beginning, because if in the presence of the Guru, we have ordinary view. So this is what's meant by Guru Yoga. So thus you must understand, as explained above, the instruction that is renowned as Guru Yoga. Yet you will get nowhere by training in an objective meditation just for a single session. When you practice a teaching from the heart, you must rely for a long time on an excellent teacher who guides you accurately. So we shouldn't have expectation something that will take place very quickly. I think it's skillful to think, however long it takes, however many eons it takes me, I'm going to enlightenment. That's my destination. And anything along the way, I will try to see as, even if I see my faults coming up, I'll recognize, even I create the actions of immediate retribution, I get angry at the Guru, I'll say, wow, I didn't realize I had these karmic instincts in my mind. Now I see them. I'm going to get rid of them however long it takes. And depend on the teacher for, to have the sort of long-term aim. Moreover, it is, as Chekawa, Geshe Chekawa said, one of the Kadamba Geshis, when relying on the Guru, there is the chance that you might give up your Guru, quote unquote. So if you rely without knowing how, you will not profit but lose. So I don't know if that's translated very precisely there. The idea is, if you attempt to rely on a Guru, try to practice like we Westerners, Americans try to practice Guru devotion, we do it in the wrong way. We put up the Guru on a pedestal, and then we see some fault. We think they're supposed to be perfect. Even though that fault might be actually a manifestation of the Buddha's activity, then we disdain them. We undermine our own realizations. We destroy ourselves. We create much negative karma. So it says, when relying on the Guru, or attempting to rely on the Guru, there is the chance that you might also give up the Guru. So that's that's very common today, isn't it? People criticizing these great saints. Was it Kalu Rinpoche, and who is it, Krishnamurti, and other people. I can't say that all of them were, Krishnamurti, I don't know, but certainly when people just frivolously criticize them, without knowing how to rely on the Guru, without knowing that you have to try to see even their faults as, it's unreliable. My mind is not reliable. My perceptions are not reliable. That may actually be the activity of Buddha. There's greater benefits in seeing them as Buddha, not to give up the Guru. Therefore, these topics concerning reliance on the teacher, spiritual friend, are clearly the foundation of our deepest aspiration, which is more important than anything else. So this is something that it takes a long time to train in and to develop the confidence that this is an important practice. But as it says, it comes before how to lead the disciple on the path. This is the root of the path, training in reliance on the Guru. This is the root of the path. Consequently, I, Lama Tsongkhapa, have taken citations from uncorrupted scriptures. not something that was concocted by people, and their commentaries, which are easy to understand as well as inspiring, and I have given a general overview that is adorned with the sayings of excellent persons who are engaged in the meaning of the Scriptures. Understand this in detail from other sources. So you can read other texts. Now, having been introduced to this, there's that beautiful book of His Holiness's teaching on Atisha's Lamp of the Path. It's a free publication. There's a section there on Guru devotion. Read what His Holiness says, and in other texts. Now, with this background, perhaps you can start to see more meaning in there with stuff that you read before, but it didn't really connect. You can start to see the importance of how to practice this, the importance of practicing and how to practice it. Our afflictions are extremely coarse. What would you say? Do you think so? No, your afflictions aren't coarse. Of course they are. Some listen to the teachings given by many teachers. They do not know how to rely on the Guru, and even if they know how, they do not do it. We listen to lots of, we collect lots of initiations. We see in the newspaper, so-and-so is giving this initiation. We go here. We don't, we don't know how to rely. We listen to teachings by many teachers, but we don't know how to rely on the Guru. Or even if we do know, we don't do it. Therefore, they will incur immeasurable misdeeds that are related to the improper reliance on the Guru. Moreover, they will find it difficult to develop an awareness of practices such as confession of former wrongdoing and restraint from future wrongdoing. Do you see what that means? They will find it difficult to develop an awareness of practices such as confession of former wrongdoing and restraint for future wrongdoing. So this is one of the things that we, with respect to the practice of Guru devotion, we see right from the beginning that there's a lot that we've done wrong even in this lifetime, and we do continuously wrong, that we have to confess that to purify that negative karma, and especially making the resolution not to do it in the future, to try to train our mind in this kind of root faith. Again and again, one has to meditate on it. Meditation means familiarizing one's mind with a wholesome state, right? So that means you have to familiarize your mind again and again with this. It doesn't mean you just read it once. You say, I did my Guru devotion meditation. Now I want to go on to more advanced things. You have to go on again and again and again. Thus, after you have understood the benefits and faults as previously explained, reflect on them repeatedly. Those whose practice of relying on the teacher was improper in previous lives should achieve an attitude of confession and restraint from the depths of their heart. Exert yourself in the practice of those teachings for which you are suited as a recipient, and repeatedly contemplate the complete qualifications of your teacher. Make many aspirational prayers and accumulate the collections of merit and sublime wisdom as causes for having such a teacher to look after you until you attain enlightenment. Remember, this is one of the prayers that we often say. One of the verses of dedication is, due to these merits, may I never be separated from holy gurus in all my lifetimes. Once you have done this, you will quickly become like the conqueror's child, Sadaprayudita, who had perfect courage, and the youthful Sudana, who knew no limit in his search for teachers. Sadaprayudita is called what? You know what he's called? The Bodhisattva? Always crying Bodhisattva? Do you know who always crying Bodhisattva was? Always crying. Who knows who always crying Bodhisattva was? This is famous, but who's mentioned earlier in the chapter. We've skipped over one section that we'll have to review a little. How to practice how to devote oneself to the Guru and practice next time. And we just mentioned it this time in terms of offering, service, and following their advice, putting into practice their teachings. So this particular always crying Bodhisattva was looking for his Guru for a long, long period of time, and heard Guru's name from the sky, and sought out this Guru who was in meditation for a long period of time, for many years, decades, I think. And he was waiting, making offerings outside the hermitage where the Guru was meditating, and even cut his flesh cut open his veins to get blood to make the dust settle and things like this. Things that we can't even possibly imagine. It's one of the chapters in the Prajnaparamita Sutra that very, very famous, this episode. If you have the 25,000 verse, the big one by Kanza, maybe it's also in the 8,000 verse. It's also the story of always crying bodhisattva. So it's said that although when he started, in general, to go, you know how according to the bodhisattva path, it takes merits of 3 countless great eons to achieve enlightenment. So 1 countless great eon is spent generally on the path of accumulation. 1 countless great eon from the path of preparation through the impure bhumis, the first 7 bhumis, and then 1 countless great eon on the 3 pure bhumis. So it's said that although he was on the, I'm not sure if he was on the path of accumulation or path of preparation, he was able to achieve up to the, I'm not sure, up to maybe the pure bhumis or some of the high bhumis in that one lifetime because of his accumulation of merit through the practice of guru devotion. So when it says, the different ways of saying, when it says, sometimes it says the accumulation of merit over 3 countless great eons. Other times in the scriptures it says the accumulation of merit which could be, as you could interpret it to say, which can be accumulated over 3 countless great eons, but you can accumulate it more quickly. Certainly in Tantra you can accumulate it more quickly, right? But even in the sutra path you can accumulate it more quickly, and one of the ways of accumulating it more quickly is through the practice of guru devotion. Seeing the guru as Buddha and creating the karma in that way, that karma can actually ripen this lifetime, because the Buddha, the Guru Buddha, is like the supreme object, heavy object of karma. So it can actually ripen this lifetime. Generally, karma that we create does not ripen in the same lifetime. Sometimes we say instant karma, right? You criticize someone and then they punch you or something, you say, instant karma. It's not really, maybe you could say kind of generally that's instant karma, but that's not the result of your saying the harsh words didn't come back immediately in the punch. You've created some condition for some other negative karma to ripen. Usually your criticism, the karma of criticizing them, is not going to ripen until some future lifetime. It's rare that karma created this lifetime ripens this lifetime, other than with respect to very heavy objects of karma, like our parents. Karma that we create with respect to our parents when we're young can ripen on us later, this lifetime. But especially karma with respect to the gurus, the Buddhas, bodhisattvas, that can ripen on us this lifetime also. So you can kind of see how it's possible to make tremendous transformation of the mind by properly practicing. So the heavy ways to create virtuous karma are bodhicitta and guru devotion. So if you know that, when I say bodhicitta, especially when I talk about bodhicitta, talking about merit, sort of conventional bodhicitta, but ultimate bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness to generate the collection of wisdom. But those are like when we talk about the perfect human rebirth, this rebirth of leisure and endowment, even in a shortest instant, you can create so much merit, purify so much negative karma through the practice of guru devotion, through the practice of bodhicitta. Say tonglen, even not bodhicitta, just even doing tonglen, which is a cause of bodhicitta. Taking on the suffering, bearing with the suffering we have, and imagining that by our experiencing the suffering, others will be free of their suffering, developing that bodhisattva attitude. Even that, let alone bodhicitta, purifies so much negative karma, creates so much virtue, that even the arhats cannot create. It said that the merit that we can create by devoting ourselves to Mahayana spiritual friend far exceeds that which even an arhat could create in their whole lifetime. We could create in an instant with combination of bodhicitta and guru devotion. So when you do the 6-session yoga, if you do that for Kala Chakra or whatever. Don't think of it as a chore. Think of it, wow, this is an incredible opportunity to create merit that even the arhats couldn't create in their whole lifetime. Those who've realized emptiness directly but don't have bodhicitta, don't have the sense of the Mahayana Guru. So see it as something very, very precious rather than a heavy burden or chore or whatever we might think of it as. Right? So then now we get to the next section. I'll just give a little overview, and next time I'll go over the part that we didn't go over so much today about how to practice, how to devote oneself in practice. We only touched on it. So next section, a brief indication of how to sustain the meditation. So how to sustain meditation, maybe in general, but particularly the meditation on Guru devotion, because it's not something you just read. You actually meditate on Guru devotion. So the actual way of sustaining the meditation is Chapter 5, and Chapter 6 is refuting misconceptions about meditation, thinking that there's only shamatha, there's no such thing as vipassana, analytical meditation is wrong, there should only be sustaining meditation or vice versa. So this first section is the actual way of sustaining the meditation, has two main outlines: what to do during the actual meditation session and what to do between meditation sessions. So in general, there are two parts of our lives: the meditative session and post-meditation. Everything's included in that. There's meditation and post-meditation. And in the meditative session, all meditation sessions, when you read the sadhanas, there's always three parts: preparation, actual, and conclusion. What to do at the beginning, what to do in the middle, the actual session, and what to do at the end. So here, this will be talking about, when we talk about what to do in the meditation session, we'll be talking about the preparation, the 6 preparations next time. If you get a chance to read that. You know the 6 preparations, Venerable?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Seeing the Guru as doctor, seeing his occupation.
No.
Seeing the medicine as the cure. Oh, that, okay, sweet.
What is it? Clean well the place you are staying, neatly arrange the representations. So we'll be talking about that next time. And the 7-limb puja, the 7-branched puja, which is what one part of those preparations. So we'll be talking about the verses from the prayer of Samantabhadra. These verses come from that. And we'll continue. A lot of interesting. Now we get to the gist of what actually meditation means. It doesn't mean, like, I remember someone asked me one day, we talked about emptiness now for a year now. How do you meditate on emptiness? Actually, we've mentioned it many times, but because we haven't a lot of practice in meditation yet, we don't know what it means. We might just think emptiness. Everything is empty. Emptiness, emptiness. That's not meditation on emptiness, right? So let's dedicate merits that we've created and try to seal them in the emptiness of the 3 spheres. To both, the dedication is to try to preserve the collection of merit, and the meditation on the emptiness of the 3 spheres is to try to enhance that and seal that, join it with the accumulation of wisdom, so that merit cannot be destroyed by anger and wrong view and abandoning the Dharma, and criticizing bodhisattvas and so forth. So think, due to this merit that I have created tonight, in the past lives, past of this lifetime, even merit that I will create in the future, due to this merit, may I never be separated from Mahayana spiritual friends in all my lifetimes. try to seal that in the emptiness of the three spheres, the merit created, the goal never being separated from, having that karma, never to be separated from gurus, Mahayana spiritual friends in our future lifetimes. That also is empty of true existence, just imputed, although it functions, there is such a state conventionally, and the act of dedication. Myself, the motivator, does not exist truly. The act of dedication, trying to join up these merits with those goals, does not exist inherently.